Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Coach India, and today I'm going to talk about how you can get stronger at home. So like I mentioned in my last video, I'm living in the UK right now and we've been in a full lockdown since Christmas. And I know a lot of other countries are in the same position with no access to a gym and everyone having to continue to work out at home. And although it's very easy to find workouts you can do at home online, like on Instagram and YouTube, I wanted to give you some tips so that you get the most out of these workouts and you actually make some progress at home. So tip number one is consistency, and this is the most important aspect of your training regardless of whether you're at home, whether you're in a gym. No matter what your goals are, you have to be consistent. So that means you cannot be doing a different workout every time you work out or switching up your program every week or two. You have to stick to a 4 or 6 or 8 week program if you want to reach your goals. And I know how easy it is to scroll on Instagram or search on YouTube and come across some workouts that look really fun and interesting and you want to try them out. And yes, any movement is better than no movement, but try not to always do those random workouts that you come across on Instagram. Try to stick to an actual progressive program. So my second tip is to focus on unilateral movements, especially if your weights at home aren't heavy enough for bilateral movements that you would normally do in the gym. Unilateral movements are single arm or single leg variations compared to bilateral, which is both legs or both arms. So usually lighter weights aren't going to challenge you enough for bilateral movements, but they may be sufficient if you're just using one arm or one leg. So an example of that is if you're used to doing Romanian deadlifts in the gym with either heavy dumbbells or a barbell, and you want to do the same kind of movement at home but your weights aren't heavy enough, you can use 2 dumbbells but just do single leg RDLs instead so that it's still challenging enough for you. A couple more examples are single arm press instead of a barbell overhead press, and reverse foot elevated split squats or Bulgarian split squats, whatever you want to call them. They're a great alternative to any kind of squatting pattern exercises you would do in the gym. So my third tip is to use tempo. So tempo is a great method to use to increase time under tension. So that's the length of time that a muscle is actively working in an exercise. And this is a really easy way to increase the difficulty of an exercise without increasing the weight. So to use tempo, you can either add eccentrics to movements, you can make them 1.5 reps, you can add a pause, and these can be applied to pretty much all exercises you can do. So a good example of this is dumbbell single arm rows. So you would go up like normal, and for the lowering portion you would do an eccentric, so that's 3 to 5 seconds lower, and this just really increases the difficulty of the movement with lower weights. Some more examples would be a 1.5 rep dumbbell RDL, where you go down all the way, come halfway back up, all the way down, and all the way back up. So it's 1.5 reps each rep. And then you can also add pauses to a lot of different movements. So for example, pause push-ups, where you go down like normal, pause at the bottom for 1 to 2 seconds or however long you want to, and then come back up like normal. Again, just increasing that time under tension. So my fourth tip is really simple. It's just increase the volume of your workouts. So your volume is your sets times your reps times your weight. So if you can't increase the weight, you can increase your sets by 1 or 2. You can increase your reps up until a point where it's difficult, and that will increase your overall volume. So if you're used to doing 3 times 8 single arm overhead press in the gym, you might want to increase that to 4 times 10, for example. So tip number 5 is improve your technique. So this is a great time to scale back some things to really try and work on perfecting your technique of certain exercises. So for example, if you want to get deeper in your squats or finally get your pistol squat, you might want to spend some time working on your ankle and hip mobility to be able to get that depth. And the same goes if you normally butt wink in your squat, so that's when your pelvis kind of scoops in at the bottom of your squat. You might want to go back to goblet squats or box squats to really work on keeping everything stable. Or if your push-ups are not quite perfect yet and you're flaring your elbows or you're letting your back sag, you might want to spend some time working on regressions like incline push-ups or push-ups on your knees until you can build up that strength and get your form perfect. So tip number 6 is increase your range of motion. So this is just another way to make exercises a little bit harder, and you basically just want to work through a greater range of motion with certain exercises. So for example, deficit push-ups are a great one, where you put your hands up on a couple of textbooks or just elevate them slightly so that your chest has to go a little bit lower, and you're just getting the extra range of motion to make the movement a little bit more difficult. Another example is elevating your front foot slightly in split squat, so your back knee has to drop further to the floor to get that extra range of motion, again just to increase the difficulty. So tip number 7 is to add compound sets to your workouts. So these are often confused with supersets, but a compound set is where you do 2 exercises back to back that target the same muscle group. So for example, if you have a set of 10 dumbbell front rack squats and they're not really that difficult, you can go straight into a set of reverse Nordics to really target your quads and just to increase the intensity of the set. So a couple more examples of compound sets you can do at home: dumbbell overhead presses straight into a set of dumbbell lateral raises to really get your shoulders working, or you can do a set of chin-ups straight into some banded bicep crawls. So my final tip is to add a band to some exercises. So if you have some light weights at home and some bands, you can actually use them both together for added resistance. So I think the most common example of this is to add a mini band to any kind of squat you're doing, and this will just add a little bit of hip abduction and just make the exercise a little bit more difficult. But you can actually use long loop bands as well. For example, single arm rows, you can use your dumbbell along with your resistance band, and the same goes for good mornings. You can hold your dumbbell at your chest and use the resistance band as well. So I hope you find this video helpful and you can use these tips at home to make your workouts a little bit harder. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!